Am I the a-hole for choosing to live with my mom and have only court-ordered contact with my dad, even though my dad thinks I should side with him because he blames my mom for my half-sister's death? Last month, my brother and I, 14 and 16, spoke to a judge and asked him to let us live with our mom instead of splitting time between both of our parents like we have since they got divorced. The judge spent 20 minutes with each of us and decided to give us permission to stop going to Dad's house. But he did order 3 phone calls a week each that are meant to be 20 to 30 minutes. He gave a mini speech on the importance of parents and letting past issues go as we move into adulthood. My dad hadn't realized when Mom took him back to court that we were in on it. He didn't know we'd asked the judge to let us live with Mom. When he figured it out, he had an outburst in court and tried to confront us and Mom after we left the courtroom. Mom told us to keep walking, and she stepped between Dad and us so he wouldn't try to stop us from leaving. Those phone calls are annoying. My dad uses them to ask why we'd choose Mom and how we could abandon our family after everything Mom has done. He accuses Mom of parental alienation and doesn't believe us when we say she never said anything bad about him or Heather, his wife, or our half-siblings. He doesn't believe us, and he always brings it back to Mom's responsibility for my half-sister's death 9 years ago. Not sure how much background you need, but here's the important stuff. Dad cheated on Mom with Heather. Mom found out and divorced Dad. I was 3 and my brother was 1. Heather and my dad tried to have kids, and she had 3 miscarriages. Then Heather's 4th pregnancy went better, but she went into really early labor and my half-sister was a preemie. My dad and Heather had a lot of money issues, and they started a GoFundMe to help them cover costs and everything. My mom won a car in some local competition and sold it for the money. Dad knew about it or found out online and asked Mom for the money. My mom said no and refused to donate to the GoFundMe too. My dad and Heather ended up missing a lot of rent deadlines, and then my half-sister died. My dad and Heather always blamed Mom for it. They said if she had been less selfish and had put aside her hatred for them and helped by donating money or letting them borrow the money she got for the car, my half-sister would have lived. My dad said Mom knew all about the miscarriages and he bet she enjoyed knowing he and Heather were suffering. They talked about their anger and hate for Mom around us a lot. We were told they blamed Mom. Dad always stopped himself before going too far, but he said stuff over the years about how we should be extra loyal to him and Heather because we know Mom was the reason our half-sister died. I always hated it, and my brother did too, as he got older and understood more. My dad and Heather ended up having more kids after they got back on their feet. I was 14 when someone in Dad's family told me about the affair, and they told me it made everything that happened after more intense. I told my brother. We felt awful for Mom and saw Dad in an even worse light than we did for all the stuff he talked about her. That's what led to our decision to live with Mom. My dad still thinks we should hate Mom, and he talks to us like we're crazy for our choice. I know my dad still has grief he never worked through, but I don't think he's right. And I think he's crazy to expect us to hate Mom for the same reason he does. Am I the a-hole? Is it so weird that I made this choice? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Why would your mom pay a mistress's hospital bills? Your kids are your responsibility. I wouldn't even consider them my siblings. Anything born of a traumatic negative experience like cheating invalidates any family tie in my opinion. Maybe he and his mistress should have worked multiple jobs instead. Your mom owes them nothing. They used to say that Mom should have put her feelings aside and thought of an innocent baby and thought of us and how we'd feel losing her. My dad used to really push that point that Mom could have done it for us if she was too cold-hearted to support an innocent baby. Your father and his wife need serious therapy. Your mother had nothing to do with their child's death. What they are demonstrating is misdirected anger and blame driven by grief. Their child was born premature and had health conditions. There is no guarantee that any money your mother provided would have changed the outcome. You and your mom are doing the right thing by separating from a toxic situation. Until your father and his wife seek therapy, you absolutely should limit your time around them, as they are too unstable and mentally unhealthy for you and your brother, and I'm deeply concerned about their behavior around their other children, not the a-hole. I don't know if therapy or grief counseling would fix his anger. He would probably still blame her for what happened because it works to make her the bad guy, and him and Heather the victims of my mom. Even though he tried really hard, I never thought it was Mom's fault, and I think it's a weird thing to blame her for. It's not like my half-sister was outside a hospital and being denied medical treatment because of the money. She was in the hospital. All Mom would have done by donating is take some of the financial pressure off them. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my dad cry on purpose? I, 20 male, recently got diagnosed with leukemia, and it's bad. I'm always tired and in pain now, and I'm completely bald from chemo. My parents got divorced when I was 5, and Dad remarried when I was 7. His new wife basically told him it was either me or her, and he chose her. I'd still see him here and there, but I never slept at his new house. He'd always tell me that he loved me though, which was straight up BS because if he did, he'd have fought his wife for me. I was always very close to his side of the family since Mom was from a different country, and her entire family lived there, even my grandparents who are both dead now. My grandparents would always show me photos of the stuff Dad would do with his new family and kids, and all the vacations he'd take them on, and it always hurt me. I hated him for years. Once I was diagnosed, it broke something in him, and he finally put his foot down and decided to actually be a dad to me. He became super dad. He'd always be by my side and wouldn't leave me alone. He even brought me to his house and introduced me to his kids despite his wife's wishes. He says he wants to make it up to me and that he's always loved me and that he wants to make sure I know that. It's gotten so much though. My younger self would have loved this, but I hate it. He could have always done this and always could have been a good dad to me, but he never thought I was worthy of it until I was literally dying. I hate him. I told him so last night after he went on about how much he loves me and everything. I just had enough and told him to stop the BS. I said he never loved me enough to step up to his wife until I was freaking dying. I told him his new kids were clearly his priority, and he's only with me now because if I die, the guilt of being a crappy dad to me my whole life would eat him alive. He was crying by that point and begging me to stop, but I didn't. I told him how much I hated him when I was with my grandparents and when they'd tell me about all his vacations and activities with his real children. I hated all of them, him, his wife, and his children, because he saw them as more worthy of him than me my entire life. When I finished ranting, he was full-on sobbing, and his wife ended up kicking me out and calling me a bastard. My mom and stepdad say I went too hard on him, and that he's really struggling with everything. But I don't regret it because I let out things I've been holding in for years, and it felt damn good. Was that an a-hole move though? Honey, your dad needed to hear it. I don't know what story he has told himself all this time, but you shattered the illusion. Let's see if he finally stands up to his wife now. I mean, he let her kick his dying son out of his house right in front of him, so… Your grandparents are also bad people. No wonder they raised a crappy human like your dad. Not the a-hole. Yeah, they'd show me his wife's Facebook post and be like, hey, look how much fun your dad is having with his other kids. You wish you were with them, don't you? That's a sentence my grandma actually told me. I'd never forget it. So sorry this happened to you. When his wife kicked you out, I would have turned right to him and told him, now's your chance to stand up for me. When he didn't, I would have let him know. Still a coward, I see. He was too busy crying. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not accepting my dad lashing out at me because I didn't honor his late wife when I graduated? My dad's been a widower twice now. My mom died when I, 18 male, was 7 years old, and it was hell for me. Mom had cancer, and the last 2 years she was alive. She was so sick and wasted away to nothing. I remember being so afraid of her at the very end, and then feeling so guilty about it. Her death wrecked me. My dad remarried when I was 10, and his wife was diagnosed with ALS 3 years ago. She died in January. Her death really devastated Dad even more than my mom's did. My half-siblings had just turned 4 and almost 6 when she died, and they were really broken too. But I wasn't close to her and didn't have my own grief when she died. My dad struggled for months. Around May, he started to talk about my graduation, and it seemed like motivation for him to keep moving. But right after my graduation, he declined again, and he became very distant from me. I tried talking to him about it, but he shut me down, and he shut his siblings, my aunts and uncles, down. They got him to agree to spend Thanksgiving as a family. He showed up, and he was more on edge and avoided me for 80% of the day. A couple of family members brought it up, and he'd deny it, but then he moved away when I approached. I didn't want to have any kind of fight in front of everyone else, so I didn't push it. But then he lost it and started lashing out at me. He brought up the way I was so okay with his wife's death and how it didn't take anything out of me. Then he told me I disrespected him, my half-siblings, and her by not honoring his late wife at my graduation. He said I found time to mention mom, but not the woman who was in my life for 8 whole years, and took on the mom role when I didn't have another around to do it. He told me he freaking hated me, and it was disgusting behavior, and he had wanted to beat the crap out of me for my disrespect. 2 of my uncles tried to calm it down, but he kept making threats and implying I was some kind of disrespectful brat or monster or demon. He called me that 3 times. I told my dad he had no right to decide who I would and wouldn't honor at my graduation, and I said I wasn't going to take him lashing out at me when he knew I wasn't close to his wife when she was alive. He yelled over me that I was supposed to realize how important she was to me after she died. I was supposed to act like her death was a huge thing, because she was there and she loved me and she loved them and we were a family. He told me if I had to honor mom, I needed to honor both moms, or I should be honoring the most recent loss. He said I didn't even cry when she died, and yet when mom died, he thought I'd never stop. I said that was because mom was my mom and I loved her, and it killed me to lose her. I told him I was done and he could yell at a wall. I left. Aunts and uncles told me they were sorry dad was being like that, and they would try to talk to him. He started texting me for the first time in months, giving me grief for walking away, and not being more understanding of his grieving process when he let me cry it out after mom died. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I will advise you to keep very low contact with your dad until he gets his act together. Grief is no excuse for what he said and how he behaved. I will also suggest you also get therapy to help you navigate this turmoil in your life. That was what I was thinking. It's not like my dad wants me around now anyway, but if his anger flares again, I don't want to be on the receiving end of him lashing out again. Not the a-hole. He'll grieve how he needs to and shouldn't force that on you. This is also pretty terrible behavior on his part. It sounds like he could benefit from therapy. That's a lot to go through. He would benefit from it. His siblings have suggested it to him multiple times, but we all agree that my saying it would just make him dig his heels in harder. Right now, he's so angry he hates me and wants nothing to do with me if I can't act the way he wants. Not the a-hole. He owes you a sincere apology. I'm not sure I'll ever get an apology, but I guess time will tell if this becomes a permanent end to our relationship or not. Last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my adoptive parents if they have a college fund for me like they have for my sister? I, 17 male, was adopted as an infant. My parents were in their late 30s and had tried to have bio kids for years. It didn't happen for them for more than a decade, so they looked at infant adoption. My birth parents chose them to be my parents. My parents were present at my birth, and my adoptive mom held my birth mom's hand as I was born. Then I went home with my adoptive parents, and the rest was history. 3 years after they adopted me, my parents found out my adoptive mom was pregnant with my sister, 14 female. I don't know if they treated me differently after that, or if they were always a little less in love with me than some adopted kids get. But I always felt that my sister was the clear favorite and their real child. My parents adore her. They spoil her. She got all the cute nicknames, like Little Sweetheart and Baby Star, to list a couple of them. They were also really obsessed with how much she looked like a perfect mix of the 2 of them. Mom's eye color and nose, dad's hair color and round face and other features. A few of my cousins used to rub it in real good, that my parents had their real kid now, and that if they could send me back, they would. My family knew they said it, but nobody ever seemed to care very much. I didn't get cuddles and kisses like my sister, didn't get the quality time with each of my parents like she did, didn't get spoiled like her either. They didn't completely ignore me, and I did get gifts, but they spent less on me and bought less for me too. Maybe it was the fact I'm a guy and she's a girl? I don't know. I told my parents a few times that I felt left out, and they didn't change anything or acknowledge whether it was true or not. It was just like, oh, and then they moved on. My sister noticed the difference, and she'd make fun of it. She used to say she wished she had a real sibling and not a fake one, or how our cousins were her real family and not me. A year ago, I found out my parents had a huge college fund for my sister. They were talking to my aunt, mom's sister, about it, and how they had invested from a few things and taken from their savings for it. They never mentioned having one for me, which stung, and I thought about it a lot. I got asked in school if I had money or would get help from my parents for college, and I never knew what to say. I told them I didn't think so, and then financial aid was discussed. I reached out to my birth parents a few months ago, too. My parents gave me their names and info they had, and they don't want a relationship with me. My parents said they expected as much, but figured it wasn't their place to say. They didn't comfort me or anything, and my sisters said I had 4 parents who didn't want me, so I must be broken. 2 weeks ago, my parents asked me to speak to my guidance counselor about how busy they are, and tell her she should talk college stuff with me and not them. I figured she wanted to find out about the money, and that's why she wanted to talk to them. It got to me, and I asked them if they had a college fund for me like they have for my sister. They asked me how I knew about it, and then got mad at me for asking the question. I asked them why they'd make sure she has one but not me, when I'll be going to college first, and they asked me why I was asking questions that are none of my business. It made me feel like crap. And since that day, there's been a whole lot of tension in the house, and my sister is rubbing it in that she gets a college fund and I don't. My parents never said either way, but not saying anything is basically an answer, right? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It is 100% your business whether or not you have a college fund, and the fact that your parents are trying to tell you it's not is frankly quite bizarre. Whether they do or don't could drastically impact your life. They chose to be your parents the moment you were born. They don't get to just back out of important responsibilities that come with having a kid just because they had another one, and I'm so sorry that they're enabling the behavior from your sister and cousins. It is weird, but I think it's another way for them to not outright reject me as their son, but to not answer the question either. So instead of saying yes or no, they say it's none of my business, which kind of felt worse. Do you have extended family you could reach out to? You mentioned cousins. Could your aunts and uncles help you? Even if they can't, telling them about your situation and asking for their help will certainly shame your POS parents, which is what they deserve. I won't get support. The adults in my family all knew how I was treated by my cousins and said nothing. I don't think it'll change because it's my parents being like this. If they cared, they'd have defended me back then.